welcome to the show. Your Real Estate Today. Paul Jameson here, your host, owner of the Jameson family of real estate companies. Of course, Jameson Realty for buyers and sellers, Jameson Property Management. If you are an investor, we have a full service company for you. And if you're interested in investing in real estate, Jameson Property Investments is there to help you learn and acquire investment property to balance your existing portfolio. So today's show is going to be with Sandy Dickinson with Cross Country Mortgage. Welcome back, Sandy. Always glad to have you.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so Sandy right now is under construction. So you may hear some hammering in the background. So we've been teasing her this whole time as we're getting ready that, you know, she's doing remodeling and doing the radio and so many other things. So if you hear a little bit of hammering, don't worry. It's just Sandy hard at work, building loans and building other things.
Building dreams.
Building dreams. Oh, so poetic, this radio. You got to love it. Only in the radio. All right. So today and anytime, if you're interested in, you know, and you only catch a little bit of the show and you'd like to see more, you'd like to watch us make gestures and waves and see what we really look like, you can go to the Jameson Realty YouTube channel. You can certainly watch the whole show there, or if you'd like to listen to us audio while you run, jog, bike, drive, sit, you can go to the WBT website, shows tab, and download the podcasts and listen to the Jameson Realty, Your Real Estate Today program till your ears fall off, because we've got lots of content out there for you. All right. So every show, I try to start it out the same way. What did I learn this week? You know, and interestingly enough, this is going to surprise you in a market where there are so many buyers and so few homes to buy. We're now getting vibes in our industry that there is a lot of buyer's remorse from people that actually won houses, closed on them and lived in them. Now they're saying, I really don't know that I want to live here now. Or maybe this isn't the home of my dreams. Man, that's a shocker, huh, Sandy?
Well, they were kind of forced to buy what was available.
Yeah, I know. I mean, have I had buyer's remorse with a car before? Yes. So
Yes.
I pretty much have it with every car I buy, but that's a whole nother story. But you know, Sandy, it's interesting because what they're finding is if they bought a house a year or two ago, if they want to sell it, they can get out fine. Most cases.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. I mean, so it's like if you're in a house that you bought because you were desperate to get something and you don't love it, you can get out of it. And that's what we're telling people. You know, if you know, get out of it, have an interim plan, rent it back for a few months or whatever in the process, like a lot of people did when others bought, and go find the home of your dreams. And it's happening. You know, it sucks to wake up and not like where you live. So, you know, it's a consideration, and you're not really, can't guarantee it in every case, but most cases, you're probably all right financially. So you'd have to pay, you know, short-term gains if it's been less than a year on your, you know, current residence. But, you know, if it's been a couple of years, well, it's going to fit under the exclusion. Or if it's over a year, I'm not a CPA. Please consult your CPA for more information, but I had a good night's sleep last night. It will be more than a short-term gain. So there you go. All right. Next, the stock market right now is making a lot of people nervous, me included. And it's not making Sandy nervous, though. She's over there just hammering away.
Yes, it is.
So,
It is.
many people see blood in the water and see it as a buying opportunity, right? That's the fundamental thing, you know, for the home of the free and the brave. you can put money into this down market and relatively confidently know that over time, the market will prove, like it always has, to come back. But, you know, it's the stock market, and I want to be clear, you know, there's on Saturdays, there's, you know, 10,000 shows about financial guys, and there's the real estate guy. I actually love those guys and I listen to them because having those kind of investments is important. It's a part about being balanced in life. And I'm not a one trick pony. I have stuff in the market and I also have stuff in real estate. And I think it's a part of real balance. And, you know, that being said, you know, the real estate market is expensive right now. And by today's standards, though, it may feel expensive, but in the future, it's going to be considered a bargain. Mark my words. Look at the trends over the last 10 years. I remember when I bought houses back in the past, and you know, maybe had a buyer's remorse on 2 or 3 of them, but still, if I looked ahead, I've always come out better than fine. You know, think about some of the properties you purchased, Sandy, down there just outside of Uptown, over off of State Street and areas like that. And back then, some of those were, you know, inexpensive, but expensive by that standard based on the risk of those investments. And look what happened to them, right?
Yeah, those were some of my best ones.
Yeah, they all seem to come out okay. So whether you're in the stock market or whether you're in real estate, you know, stay the course, plan, work with professionals, invest correctly, and know with confidence that things may bounce around a little, but they always seem to right themselves over time. All right. Also, one last thing, as many of you know, in my business, I have many passions. You know, I have a passion for people and relationships. I have a passion to use my experience and knowledge to help others. I've got a passion for helping people find their dream home or transitioning into one. I have a passion to help make real estate a part of someone's wealth building strategy and by giving them a real turnkey solution. That's where the management company came from. Of course, it really came from the fact I couldn't find a good management company, so I ended up starting my own, but well, that's another story. But I want to let you know that each and every day when I wake up, and I know this about Sandy too, and many of the people you hear on this show, they're doing what they love. May not like it some days, but in the end, they're doing what they love. So, I mean, and that's really true. And so, you know, lastly, before we transition over to Sandy, I saw today a new trend I want to put out there. Instead of sending real flowers to someone, a flower arrangement can now be made from a set of Legos. It was pretty cool. Look it up. All right, Sandy, give us the mortgage quick update, and we may have to continue it into the next segment because I talk too much. Go ahead.
I'll be quick. So talking about things bouncing around, the rates are bouncing around. Currently, they're about 2.25% higher than last year. Refis are down 70% and purchases are flat. So people are still buying. The rates may sound high, but the payments are not bad, especially considering the incomes that have gone up. So I would say stay the course and don't worry about rates where they're at now. You're going to have some refi opportunities in the near future, probably within a couple years.
Okay, well, that's good. And we're going to talk about rates today. Sandy's going to talk a little bit about the ARM rates and some options with rates that I think will bring you great value. We've got more to come. Sandy Dickinson with Cross Country Mortgage, myself, Paul Jameson with the Jameson Real Estate Companies, spending Saturday afternoon with you here on News Talk 1110 99.3 WBT. Welcome back. Hey, happy Saturday to you. The show You Real Estate Today. We're having a great time. We're riding along with you to talk about real estate. I'm Paul Jameson, your host, owner of the Jameson family of real estate companies. That's Jameson Realty, Jameson Property Management, Jameson Property Investments. Thank you for spending your Saturday with us. We are blessed to have you and the loyal listeners that I continue to meet on an ongoing basis after this many years. It's really fun, actually, to talk with some folks. I met with a listener the other day. Guy's been listening to me for, gosh, almost 15 years. And he said, do you remember the show when you, and I just, yeah, actually I did. It was the Marty, Ivy, and I, the cat show that we did. And I swear to this day, I still have memories of that show and the laughter that we shared live on that. It was a lot of fun. So speaking of cats, keeping them at arm's length because I'm allergic to them, we're going to talk about arm rates with Sandy at Cross Country Mortgage. Now that's a transition right there. What do you think?
I was wondering.
Just what do you think? Hey, Sandy. All right. So what is an ARM rate anyway?
An ARM is an adjustable rate mortgage. So that sounds scary on the outside or the onset, but the ARMs now are intermediate ARMs, meaning they don't change for several years. It could be 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, or 10 years. Some don't change for 10 years. So they're not all that risky, and they do often provide a lower rate. So they're based on an index plus a margin, which doesn't probably mean anything to anybody, but the bottom line is the rates are typically lower than the fixed rates.
Okay, so I mean, that wasn't always that way. The ARMs were kind of out of vogue for a while, right? And
people quit doing adjustable rate mortgages because the 30-year fixed were so low, and they just weren't a deal. I mean, they weren't a deal, and people were a little afraid of them after the big downfall in 08. But they're pretty safe, and we're doing some now, and they're benefiting a lot of people.
Well, what's interesting about that is, I think you and I've talked before, the average time someone spends in their home is what, 10 to 12 years, something like that?
5 to 7 years in their loan, whether they stay in the house or not. Loans are usually flipped 5 or 7 years.
Right. But even so if that were the case, either one of our examples were the case, why wouldn't you just do right now a 10-year ARM?
Right. If the rate's lower, what's your risk?
Yeah. And when you say the rate's lower, give me an example approximately. Is it a half a point?
I locked one a full % lower about 2 weeks ago, and we're getting ready to close on it. And it's a nice deal for the guy because he his history is that he moves about every 3 or 4 years. So he's paying a lower rate. We know that we'll probably get lower rates in the next couple of years because rates are cyclical, and he'll be able to refinance if he wants to. In the meantime, he's not dealing with a 5 3/4 or 5.5 rate. He gets about a point lower.
So when you talk about ARMs being adjustable, and you talk about that adjustment, so let's just pick a category. Let's pick middle of the road. Let's say the client has a 5-year ARM. Okay. What does that look like on 5 years and 1 day?
Okay. So after 60 months, the rate is adjusted based on the index, which currently is the SOFR, which is some sort of secure overnight lending rate, which I don't even know what it is, but I know you can find it on Wall Street. And you add a margin to that. And a typical margin is 2 3/4. So if the SOFR is around 0.75 and you add the 2 3/4, your rate's still not too bad. So it's going to be index plus margin. And then, but say it is really bad, say it's ridiculous amount, you have caps that keep you from getting too high on that rate. So say the cap is at 2% per year. So, and if you're starting at say 4, we'll say 4.5, it can never go up that first change more than to 6.5, if assuming the cap is 2%. So there are some protections in there. But sometimes the indexes are lower and your rate drops. So a lot of people that had adjustable rate mortgages back in 2008, when they started changing, they got a lower rate.
Yeah, that's what happened to me. I remember I had a 5-year ARM rate. You got a big infestation of bugs there. That's actually a saw. It sounds pretty
I
dang
have
funny.
some work
TJ's
going on
mitigating
in
it
that,
on this end.
and there's a
But
saw.
but we need to call Marty. But the Marty Ivy. So at the end of that, my rate actually went from 5% down to 3%, and then it adjusted again lower. So it went from 3% down to like 2.5%.
And those are
because
fun
it was
times.
based on LIBOR. So
Right. And the indexes changes throughout the years, but the premise is the same. So it could easily happen again as you know, if we go into a recession, which we're anticipating in a couple of years, then the Fed will start lowering the Fed funds rate instead of raising it like they are now.
So let's say I have that ARM rate and I'm like your client before, and I want to pay it off, or I want to refinance it, or I want to move, but my ARM's not up yet. Sounds like a double entendre there.
It's not a problem.
So,
there's no prepayment penalty on the ARMs. You can pay it down just like a 30-year fix, because they are amortized 30 years typically. You can pay them down, you can pay them off. It works just like a regular 30-year fixed loan. It just, in 10 years, something's going to change, or 5 years, something's going to change.
All right. So if you were to say, here's a deep question. If you were to say to someone, look, if I'm to summarize an ARM, what's the best and the worst thing about an ARM in your view?
Well, the best thing is that they're fairly low risk, and you get a better rate.
Yeah. And
so that will give you a better payment. The worst thing is that there is a little bit of risk to them. Like, rates can change, and if we have really, really high rates in the future in 5-10 years, then you may be subject to a high rate, or you might want to refinance into something else. The good thing is that if and when rates go really high, like if we have a bad economy with a lot of inflation, then usually the government will bring some new loan program out that'll benefit people, and you can refinance on that.
Yeah. There tends to usually be some type of a life preserver that comes out through the Fed, right? So, all right. So, Sandy, let's change gears. We've kind of armed up. Let's go from here to the construction loan that you have. You're winning a lot of clients with this new construction loan program, aren't you?
Yeah, we have a really good construction perm product. For a conforming loan, which is under 647-200, you can finance up to 90%, with a good credit score, of the purchase price of the land plus the construction cost. And you can lock in your rate for 9 months to a year. So you have some protection for rate increases over that next year. And we have a construction department that's all they do. So they take really, really good care of our clients and the builders. Now, your builder's going to have to supply some information, which builders hate. They hate paperwork. So I would talk to them about it up front, but we do make sure that they're approved and that they're in good financial shape so that they won't leave you in the lurch.
Yeah, here's the significance of this. We've talked a lot about the competition that's going on in the marketplace, and a lot of people have just, gone in, and there's still even competition in new construction. Trust me on that. It's very competitive, even when you think it may not be. But this product, a lot of time, really does beat out what the builder has to offer, being able to secure that you get a good rate and you can lock it over the time while they're constructing. Right, Sandy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Makes a difference. And it beats the two-part close. Ours is a one-time close. You don't have to close on the construction and then again close on the permanent.
That's
extra
awesome.
closing cost.
Lots of flexibility. Right. When we get back, we're going to learn about Sandy's new product called the Lock and Shop. I love the name. And we're going to talk some more about how to actually mess up the deal at the closing table. We're going to have some fun with that and much more on the show, Your Real Estate Today, here on News Talk 1110 WBT. Happy Saturday. We're having fun. I got the Lock and Shop jingle stuck in my head during the break. TJ says he don't want no more of that. So he's not going to get it. Sandy Dickinson with Cross Country Mortgages here. I'm Paul Jameson. Having a great Saturday with you. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. I am excited to spend time. And of course, here at the studio, we're talking real estate. If you're just now tuning in, you have no idea the shenanigans I started with, and there's no significance in it to you, but hang with us. We will make it make sense. All right. So, Sandy, you have this fancy new product called the Lock and Shop.
Yes, I do.
Write the jingle, not sing it, just write it.
Okay, so the Lock and Shop means that if you're worried about rates going up, which they're doing almost every day, you can lock in your rate for 90 days up to 90 days while you're looking for a house. It locks in the rate, and then once you find the house, it's an automatic extension of 30 days to allow you to close that house that you locked on without raising your rate. So it's
okay.
We're doing quite a bit of it.
How much does it cost to lock and shop?
50 basis points, which is like a half a point.
That's nothing. To be able to lock in a rate?
We can see that change 3 or 4 times a day sometimes in a rate. So half a point's pretty cheap.
Oh,
pardon me, excuse me.
Okay, baby.
Ignore that saw.
You might want to see somebody about that. Oh my. Okay. So that's a big B. Okay. All right. So for those that are like, what in the world is going on? Sandy has some construction going on from where she's doing the show right now. So it's kind of really funny to hear it in the background. All right. So let's talk about just a couple more quick things. One is something in this market that has proven to be one of your superpowers, and that has been your appraisal panel. Why, Sandy, has your appraisal panel been your superpower?
Our appraisal panel is made up of a group of appraisers that I handpicked that I've worked with for years because I've been in the business a long time. And I know that they know the market, and I know that they're going to give us the best chance we have. They're going to put a lot of work into it to get the best value possible. I mean, we're not coercing them. We're not even talking to them, but we put them in with our own AMC, and then they rotate them. So we know we're always going to get somebody good. And comparative to other lenders who have to use like national mortgage AMCs or appraisal management companies, we have a really good reputation and record of getting really nice appraisals. So that's a huge perk that people don't think about, and it can save you a lot of money with all these a bid over ask contracts coming into play. If we have someone that really works hard and works with us, it may save money that you won't have to put extra money down if the appraisal doesn't come in.
Yeah. Hey, what's that show where you like buy a vow and all that stuff? Wheel of Fortune. Wheel of Fortune. Have you ever watched Wheel of Fortune?
A few times.
Okay, so if you don't have your own appraisal panel, it's like spinning that wheel on Wheel of Fortune, and you get like all these different things. And then on there in very strategic places is the words, lose your turn. If you don't have an appraisal panel that understands the market, understands the relationships that they have in and around the underwriting and how to work with Sandy and the clients and a lot of her agents, it makes a big difference. You don't want to be in a situation where they spin the wheel for an appraiser who has no idea what is going on, you know. And it was so funny, and this is not about appraisers, so it's about, actually, I work with the Preston Sandlin at Home Inspection Carolina a lot, almost 99.9%. The only time I haven't was this one time the client, his brother-in-law was an inspector or something, so we had to use it. But anyway, Preston does all our inspections. But occasionally when I have listings, of course, the buyer is bringing whoever they're going to bring for the inspection. There's actually a method to this story, so hang in there. So anyway, they bring in this inspection, and I get this inspection report, and it's like 178 pages. I might be exaggerating a little bit. It might have been 176. But anyway, I get it, and I look at it, and I call the other agent, and I ask him this question: is your home inspector new? He said, how do you know? I said, because I just looked at his inspection report, and he has no idea how to inspect a home in today's environment and in today's market about what's important and what's not. This guy absolutely had no clue. And that's the one thing about appraisals in this market, where we're seeing offers that it makes it really hard to figure out exactly what the market adjustment should be based on the comps that you have and so on in a dynamic market. Your superpower, Sandy, at Cross Country, and your superpower, Sandy's, is that she's got these relationships with people that can get the job done. Because in the end, it's about getting to the closing table, right?
That's right. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. And I very rarely have we ever, Sandy, in our history together, have had any, very few issues with appraisal. Very few.
Right.
I mean, it does happen from time to time, but it's very, very rare. All right. And then lastly, creativity is the source of how we see changing markets, right? You, through the products you offer, the services you provide, the way you do things, the way you're able to pull magic based on timing and deadlines and so on. One of the other things is you've also, in a cash market, developed a relationship with companies like Ribbon, where you work together to match the client's needs to buy, right?
That's right.
So if somebody wants to use a Ribbon product, it's a 1% fee product to offer and guarantee the purchase with cash. So it's 1% of the purchase price. And then Sandy comes in with a mortgage underneath it and closes the house on time. It's a great way to offer sometimes something different in a very competitive environment. And you've been learning and working with them now on that type of relationship, right?
Yeah, we do it quite a bit. And sometimes if the appraisal comes in low, Ribbon will pay the difference. It depends on the scenario, but they do have a product that offers some protection against those low appraisals.
Yeah, it's a nice relationship. It's a nice product. Now, of course, the market is shifting, and we are seeing some changes, but still a viable competitive product in this market and a lot of other markets. All right. So Sandy, coming up in the next segment, we're going to talk about different things that could affect the actual closing taking place. And a while ago, I talked to Trez Stokes at Norwood Armstrong and Stokes. He came into the studio. We did a show together on Saturday, and we touched on a few of these things that related to their side of the table. But you and I have some things related to how things can change at the closing table that are interesting to talk about and good to know. And we're going to share more about that. But before we go to break, Sandy, if somebody's interested in talking with you, how do they get you?
They can simply call my mobile. It's at 704-577-0144.
704-577-0144. Sandy Dickinson with Cross Country Mortgage. Myself, Paul Jameson with Jameson Realty, Property Management and Property Investments. We're spending Saturday with you. More to come. Don't go anywhere on the Show Your Real Estate Today here on News Talk 1110, 99.3 WBT. Welcome back to Show Your Real Estate Today. I'm Paul Jameson, your host here with Sandy Dickinson with Cross Country Mortgage. Now, I am in the studios today with my dear friend TJ. I am making him crazy, and he is about ready to shoot me. But I'm having fun with it anyway. But thankful that he hasn't shot me yet.
No, we're good.
Yet. He says we're good. Right. He's reaching for something under the table. Okay. Anyway, we have a lot of fun in here. Sandy is in a construction zone off-site today, so she's making really weird noises. She says it's a construction.
It's true.
Okay. We shall see. Well, we've talked a lot about arm rates. We've talked a lot about options that you have. We've talked about appraisals. Now, let's talk about the things people don't like to talk about, but should talk about. And that's making sure that after you go to all of this trouble to get a house under contract, apply for a loan, you get to the closing table and you get to close. Because there are little attributes about the process that you need to know. Now, one thing that isn't really on this script, but should be on the outline that we put together to talk about, is when I have a buyer and we're getting close, maybe let's call it, the loan is in underwriting and Sandy's working on it. Sandy forces me to also reinforce a speech that I must give them. And let me share that speech with you right now. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, let me share with you something that will become helpful in making sure you close this loan. Number one, do not sign up for any new mortgages, loans, 90-day same as cash, 1 year same as cash, for any types of other obligations that will show up on your credit report. Number two, don't buy a car. While you're applying for a loan, it's best not to buy a car. Please don't make any large deposits or purchases that could affect your ratio without speaking to your mortgage officer, aka Sandy. Number four, please, and please don't maximize your credit cards with the option of being able to get the home fully furnished before you even close. So, how'd I do?
Did pretty darn good.
Did I miss anything?
Don't be late on anything would be a good one.
Yeah.
What else? Don't quit your job. That's a good one. We have had people quit. We've had people change jobs and not tell us. And then we always call at the last minute and say, okay, want to just verifying they're still working. They're like, nope, they don't work here anymore. What?
Yeah.
Now we have to verify income all over again, assuming they have a new job.
Right. And don't get incarcerated during that period of time.
Correct, because I have had that happen too.
Yeah, I had it happen too. And
Prisons
also
don't pay
we
that
ask them
well.
not to die.
Oh,
You know,
What was that one?
don't die.
Oh, right, don't die. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a good one.
that's kind
We
of
call them the 10 Commandments of
yeah.
mortgages.
That sounds like fun. Okay. All right. So here are some other things. When I was with Trez, we talked about title defects, and Sandy and I've talked about appraisal issues. survey issues, inspection and repairs is one. You know, a lot of times, instead of just exchanging money over repairs, people want to have repairs done. Well, if it becomes a contingency of the contract and it's not complete and there's not some kind of financial agreement or settlement, then those repairs aren't finished. So there are conditions of the contract that aren't satisfied. So there either needs to be some type of a legal document, there either needs to be an amount of money held back at the closing to assure that even if you do close, those changes take place. So, you know, if you're going to do repairs, do the repairs and make sure you can get them done by the closing. Otherwise, just give the buyer money, you know, and do it that way, right? So there can also be issues that are not met. So everybody shows up to the closing table and the lender has some underwriting conditions that aren't handled yet. Like, the appraiser has to go back out and look at a set of railing for the stairs. I can't tell you how many times I've had to build a railing for 3 steps, right?
Safety first, Paul.
Safety first, safety first. Okay. If you got an online lender, I have been to closings where this is not Sandy, where online lenders have gone MIA and that package has not arrived. Not a good feeling. Now, in those particular cases, guess who has come to my rescue?
Your favorite lender?
Yeah, starts with S. Sandy. She's pulled loans out of her hat in less than 2 weeks. And in some cases, if she can get clearance and get the appraisal and it's been approved, she can do it faster. It's been amazing. Be careful when you use an online lender. Can't tell you not to use one or that they don't follow through, because that wouldn't be 100% right. Just make sure that there's accountability there and you know that you're going to get the stuff. All right. Here's one that happens a lot too. We do the final walkthrough the morning of closing, and there's still stuff there. You know, lots of stuff. You know, one of the most interesting things is that the sellers go through and they clean up everything and they get it all done. And you go there for the final walkthrough and the garbage cans are so full that you can't see that they're cans, and everything from couches to refrigerators is lining the front yard. What do you do in that case? You're getting ready to close, and they've gotten everything out of the house, technically, air quote, but it's in the yard and the garbage guy's not coming for like 6 days. Well, you have some choices. Here's how I remedy that issue. I say to the other agent in that scenario, I would like $750 for a junk man to come and clean up all of this stuff. Now, that price can vary depending upon the amount of junk. And sometimes if you go the night before, the next day, the scrappers come and take care of some of the stuff. But full garbage cans and a house full of garbage that is at the street is not considered the way that you should turn over the home. You know, if there's a little bit of stuff in the garbage can, that's reasonable. But leaving the buyer with your garbage is not reasonable. And I won't let my sellers do it. So you've got to think about those things, right? Sometimes the house hasn't even been emptied. And there's been no notification that the buyer hasn't left. And they show up to closing. That's why you do the final walkthrough. It's important. And then also just some issues over closing costs. They want to argue with the attorney. They don't understand the closing costs. They don't understand that the payoff is different than what's on their bank statement. That's why you get all those things ahead of time. Communication, education, the ability to review and understand and not be feeling the pressure of having to sign at the very last minute. Right, Sandy?
That's right.
All right. All right. Well, Sandy, one more time, if they want to talk to you about mortgage, refinance, construction loan, lock and shop, or many of the other products you have to offer, how do they get you?
They call my mobile at 704-577-0144.
If you want to talk to me about investing in real estate, about buying, selling, property management services, or we can help you in some way, we'd love to hear from you. I'm Paul Jameson with Jameson Realty, Property Management, Property Investors. Call me or any of my team, 704-577-0144. On the web at myjamesonhomes.com with offices in Matthews and wonderful downtown Gastonia. So give us a ring. Thank you. God bless. We'll talk to you next week. The show, Your Real Estate Today, here on News Talk 1110 99.3 WBT.